Hi there, welcome to the underworld, or welcome back if you've already seen some of my stuff before. My name is Death, or at least you can call me that, and I have brought you a pick-a-pile examining what your villain arc is going to be, or at least what it's been so far, and what path or direction it's going to take in the future, as well as some advice for like how to make sure that it is happening for your highest good, I guess, or that you are directing it, or have the knowledge that you need to direct it in ways that are in alignment with your highest good or your goals and plans for the future. So we're gonna have 4 separate piles for y'all. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit close up. Pile number 1 is freedom. We got pile number 2, which is revenge. Pile number 3, which is peace. And pile number 4, which is power. So select based off of the image, based off of the number, based off of the word on there, just whatever you feel calls to you, that's gonna be the pile for you, most likely. So yeah, I will see you in your pile, and that's it from me. Hi there, pile 1. If you chose this card, freedom, then you are in the right place. So we're answering the question today, what is your villain arc? And so I'm gonna be starting off with kind of like, what's your backstory as a villain? Like, what is it that has necessitated a villain arc happening? Because, you know, people aren't born as villains. Usually there's something that happens that sparks or inspires them to become someone who stands against the hero of the story or whatever, or the protagonist. I mean, like, this is kind of me spouting off my own stuff, but I guess, like, whenever I think of villain in terms of villain arcs, it's really it's really more the idea of the antagonist, and it's that it's the person who stands in the way of the protagonist getting what they want. The protagonist isn't necessarily good or bad, neither is the antagonist. They're not necessarily good or bad either. It just depends on what your personal value systems are and everything, but that, like, by virtue of being the antagonist, it's standing in the way of like someone else getting what they want. And so, you know, no matter what, a villain arc is going to be about, you know, changing and setting boundaries so that oftentimes you're no longer being exploited by other people, or you are no longer being subjugated by other people, or, I mean, like, if you're here with this freedom card, there's a lot about, like, I feel like there's going to be a lot here about control. And I mean, like, let me just go ahead and get started with your cards. So we have, I teach people how to treat me. 𝗟𝗲𝗴𝗹𝗹. The trigger statement is, why are things such a struggle? The true statement is, I am in the flow. Take a breath, dear one, and allow yourself to feel the flow of life through you. Release your need to do and just be. We have the sea serpent. We have well-being. We have cosmic wave, number 9. We have number 18, naked before the stars. And we have the 6th house in reverse, sustainability, number 44, in case that's important. All right, let me get this. That's fine. Okay. So, right off the bat, I teach people how to treat me. This is supposed to be an affirmation deck, and this is one of the ones that kind of bothers me whenever I read it, because I mean, like, yes, to a large degree, we are responsible for the boundaries that we set with other people. At the same time, and you'll, like, in the context of this reading especially, there's a certain amount of any way that someone treats me is almost a way that I deserve. Like, there's an implication of deserving the treatment that you get because of you being the one to teach someone, like, how you treated them. So it's like, even if you're anticipating something bad happening or them treating you badly, and, like, you know, people say that creates more of a chance for them to treat you badly, like, they didn't have to treat you badly. They could have approached everything with love. That doesn't, like, everyone is still responsible for their own choices, even if it is your responsibility to teach boundaries. So someone, like, I think here, this, like, right off the bat is just, you come from a background of having to take a lot of responsibility for everything. Probably, like, lived in an environment where you maybe felt parentified. Either you had to take care of younger siblings and didn't really get the chance to be a kid, and so you had to, like, really develop your mechanisms of being in control, or you were expected to be highly independent. You weren't necessarily taking care of siblings, but you were having to take care of yourself and fend for yourself at a younger age than was possibly developmentally appropriate. And so I kind of think there. Okay, sorry. Like, I'm a Libra rising. Whenever I see, like, colors like this, it just kind of, like, I like to arrange things in the colors. Anyways, maybe that's something I can speak to, because here it also, like, a lot of these cards do talk about, like, a perfectionistic streak. Like, why are things such a struggle? This card is about flow, like needing to be in flow, to just release the need to do. The 6th house here is about, like, in a sense, or 6th house has to do with, like, Virgo, so you may have a lot of Virgo placements, perhaps like a Virgo stellium, or it's like in your big 3. But additionally, it's about service, servitude, discipleship. It's also a house of, like, failure and crisis and figuring out how to recover from that, which is part of the reason why, like, it says sustainability on there, because it's all about, like, how resilient are you? And that's especially, like, Virgo placements are really good at. I'm hearing the song I get down, then get back up again, that just, like, repeats over and over again. I don't remember if that's, like, a church song or whatever, because this background window makes me think of, like, a church or whatever. But this number 9, cosmic wave, new friendships, preparation, custodians. Preparation and custodians, like, and the description of this card really makes me think that, like, you potentially had parents or guardians, or maybe a teacher who were really hard on you, and you really wanted either really wanted their approval, or just really wanted their recognition in some way, or just didn't want them to be taking control over your life. And so you needed to be pleasing them. There was an expectation to live up to a lot of standards that they set that would just, like, permeate everything. There's a sense of, like, imperfection was not tolerated. You were not able to be yourself in the way that you really wanted to, or felt like was true to who you were, and spent a lot of time denying and pushing down a lot of those things, and perhaps even convincing yourself that it was for your own good, especially if it was led by your parents or suggested by your parents. I get the feeling that, like, you may have been bullied for not being able to take care of yourself well enough. Like, that whole idea of, like, or returning to the whole, you know, being expected to be independent. If you're expected to be independent at a younger age than is developmentally appropriate for you. And you could also be, like, neurodivergent, which would change that timeline, depending on, like, what your individual support needs are. But you could have been expected to be very independent from a young age, and then bullied for, or criticized for not knowing how to do the things, or not being concerned enough about the things that you were never really properly trained to do in the first place. And so you may have, like, really bad you may feel like you're a person who, I don't know how to take care of myself. I don't like, oh, that could be like a monologue in your head of like, I'm really bad at making sure my bills are paid. I'm really bad at making sure like of taking care of life things. I'm just bad at being an adult. I'm bad at whatever. Like there's a lot of hang-ups around this sixth house stuff in particular, health, work, well-being, crisis, failure, resiliency, just feeling like you aren't a person who perseveres, or maybe that was like a message that was told to you a lot. And so this naked before the stars, there's like this yearning to, kind of like with this freedom, there's a yearning to just really like express yourself, I guess. This yearning to be able to be fully yourself without anything extra. Yeah, and this sea serpent here, the description for this talks a lot about how like the sea serpent acts like a mother and like wraps around you, like overprotective. So you could also come from a background where you were really like sheltered or cushioned from the world. So like all of the things that were forced upon you, or the ways that you were told to not be yourself, it was for your own good. And so you may have like a deep tendency to blame yourself. And I think if you're looking to be freed from anything, like if you are a person who picked freedom, like specifically because you think your villain motivation would be to be free, I think one of the things that you may be most wanting to free yourself from, whether you've consciously admitted it or not, is your own debilitating self-criticism. Like, I just get the sense that you are really hard on yourself, that you are you feel like you're under a lot of pressure. You may struggle with anxiety and feeling like, that like even small things are going to be, you know, life-altering, catastrophic things that you can never recover. I'm hearing the phrase like, I can never financially recover from this. And so, I get so much like anxiety and uncertainty and feeling like you're not good enough. And my heart goes out to that. I am so sorry that you experienced that. Especially coming from the place of like believing that this is going to be for your highest good, that you know, that if you reach X goal, then you'll be good enough, or if you reach if you just change these coping mechanisms or whatever, then you'll be good enough. And so then, you know, if you've been working on a lot of self-help things, because I don't get the sense that like you could be in a not great place. I think most of y'all are in like a reasonably stable place, or at the very least, like you guys have found or been working on your like doing inner child work, maybe working with a therapist, doing journaling and just introspecting and trying to figure out, you know, how can I become healthier? And it's almost created this crusade to like, it's just perpetuated your self-persecuting tendencies. You may want to look at the book, oh my gosh, what's it called? Radical Acceptance, Embracing Your Life with the Heart of a Buddha, by 𝗟𝗲𝗃. It's a really excellent book. I think it's about 12 hours on audiobook. I really enjoyed it, and it really helped me a lot for being able to sit with my negative emotions, but also being able to help release a lot more of my toxic self-judgment and criticism, and that internal monologue that's going on. So it might be something that helps you as well as you're going on this journey. But your journey is a lot more, I just need to forsake the world around me. I need to, you know, leave it all behind. I keep hearing in my head, like, maybe an Enneagram 7, so that's like a confirmation for you. You may be an Enneagram 7. I'm also hearing Libra placements, so we've got like Libra and Virgo. The sea serpent is associated with the sacral chakra, so you may be doing like specifically sacral chakra work, or I guess I should say energy point, however you think about those. But you may be like being told that that's blocked and that you need to be doing that, because it's a lot about desires. And so if you are a person who's spent a lot of time being told that, you know, what you want to do is wrong, what your natural instincts are wrong. And then, you know, all of the accompanying self-criticism, you're gonna be really putting a damper on your creative abilities. You're gonna be putting, like, just basically nuking your ability to really and truly express the essence of who you are, leaving you just sapped. So yeah, I'm gonna get into the messages now for like what it is that you guys are, like what your journey in the future is going to be looking like, and like just the general advice. Sorry about that, y'all. I need to get some water. All right. Knight of Pentacles. Interesting. So I'm going to be using the Wandering Spirit Tarot to be doing this reading. All right. Spirit and universe, pile one's guides. I invite y'all to share the messages that you would like to let them know regarding their villain arc, where it's going to be heading, what it's going to kind of look like for them, and any other kinds of like advice bits that you would like to give. All right. Got the High Priestess. I'm hearing the phrase trust your inner voice, so that'll be part of your... Okay. Have the Six of Swords. Upright. Knight of Cups. Justice. Current back of the deck is the Six of Cups in reverse. I'm hearing he left his family behind, from Steven Universe, the Cookie Cat song. And now we're gonna do, can we get a clarifier for the High Priestess, please? Okay. The Chariot in reverse. I'm hearing the song Give It Time. I forget who the artist is. I got a clarifier for the Six of Swords, please. Knight of Pentacles. We had that when it first came out. Interesting. Okay. Knight of Cups has two clarifiers, the Four of Swords and the Magician. I'll put them like this. I got a clarifier for Justice. Okay, the Six of Pentacles. I'm hearing the phrase give and take, give and take. Clarifier for the Empress in reverse. Interesting. Okay. And we got Death. All right. So I'm gonna say right out, like, this is going to be kind of a painful journey. This is going to be a very emotional one. So, like, it'll have its joys and everything too. But this is much more of an emotional, like, resorting and sifting through everything than a lot of other journeys might be. This is a journey of reclaiming your inner voice and learning how to no longer listen to external influences, or to be able to be more selective about who you're listening to, understanding why you're listening to them. So, like, just being more aware of how you are influenced by the world around you. And I think there's going to be old friends and family members who you're going to be needing to set boundaries with, or you're like, even if you don't verbalize those boundaries, you're going to have to setting more mental boundaries with them. And it's going to be kind of a slow process. So be patient with yourself throughout this whole thing. Like, this Knight of Pentacles is like one of the slowest moving cards in the deck, is the slowest moving knight. And so it's basically the idea of taking one step at a time. Then the Six of Swords here is about like leaving behind danger, or leaving behind things that were not serving you and moving into calmer waters, or moving into things that are going to be better for you. That is going to take you time. It's not going to be something that happens overnight. There will be grief that you'll have to experience as you're going through it. There will also be joys. There are going to be people that are brought in to help you, to help guide you on that journey. And so just like being patient with yourself and letting it be that you take one step at a time, truly. Learning to wait and listen is also going to be a big thing. This High Priestess is a master of being able to hear the inner voice that guides her. So the high, in the same way that the Empress and the Emperor are counterparts of each other, the High Priestess and the Hierophant can be seen as counterparts of each other. And while the Empress embodies masculine energies and the Emperor embodies, or the Empress embodies feminine energies, and the Emperor embodies masculine in at least our Western sense, the High Priestess represents the internal knowing, while Hierophant represents more external knowing. The Magician is in a lot of ways like the synthesis of the two of them, where it's someone who has both internal knowing and external knowing that they use to create and manifest the reality that they desire. But specifically with this High Priestess here, you have more access to your internal voice than I think you give yourself credit for. I think it just also gets drowned out by everything else. And so maybe you I'm hearing that you may have gotten spoken over a lot as a kid, or like felt like there wasn't a point in speaking up. This may also be like an Enneagram type 9 or type 2, all of that positivizing triad stuff. But anyways, with this Chariot here, like in reverse, especially with this being two major arcanas, like this is a very strong, lasting energy of developing the ability to sit with your feelings, to sit with your internal experiences, and just listen. With this Justice and the Six of Pentacles here, you're going to be needing to also bring in, how to put this, you're going to need to rebalance your relationships, especially in terms of how much you give versus how much you get, or take. These two look like they're kind of dancing. I mean, a lot of the cards, they look like they're dancing, but in both of these, they especially look like they're dancing. And I feel like there's this sense of, it is a nuanced thing. It is a delicate dance, because you don't want to run to the other side where you're not giving anything, or you're being really, especially guarded. You shouldn't punish yourself for having been open and having been giving and loving and sensitive, like a lot of the world tries to convince us is the way to heal. And so with this, I think it's just it's that one step at a time thing, repeatedly practicing and like adjusting and just giving yourself the chance to, in real time, change your you're allowed to change boundaries. Once you say something, like, it's not really fair to forever hold you to that one thing. You should be free to change, because everyone changes, and that's okay. So being able to decide, you know, that boundary worked for me in the past, but it is no longer working for me now, is completely valid. I'm hearing mommy issues, so you guys may have like fear of abandonment or fear of perfection. I'm also hearing that like a lot of you might not want to admit how sensitive you are, that's something that you like hide and keep under wraps a lot, and maybe like feel really bitter about how it is that like you feel like things have to be. With this Six of Cups in reverse and the Empress in reverse together, so the Empress is like all of that creative energy. It's reminding me of the sea serpent that we had in the previous one, and I feel like until you are able to no longer enable people to have control and influence in your life because of nostalgia, until you can do that, you're not going to be able to fully access these Empress energies, this creative and regenerative energy. Which, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to cut off family members completely if that's something that you have to do. Or, I mean, like, in a lot of ways, I wouldn't say it's harder. It's a different kind of difficult to not completely cut off a family member and to instead like set boundaries. I'm hearing that I need to tell you guys that if you didn't know this before, or at least like if you haven't thought about boundaries in this way, boundaries are less about like forcing other people to treat you in a certain way, and more so it's a boundary for yourself in terms of what you will allow for how you are treated. You can't really like, we've already discussed you having a tendency to take responsibility for other people's actions in a way that isn't completely aligned with your highest good. And so just remember that like you can't control whether or not other people are going to respect your boundaries, but you can control whether or not you enforce them. So if you don't like a family member talking to you in a certain way or about a certain subject, and you make that known to them and they continue to ignore that or disrespect that boundary, you have every right to say, I don't like being treated that way. I'm not going to continue this conversation, or I'm not going to continue investing in this relationship. That's, you know, that is kind of maybe not the gold standard for handling boundaries, but it is a perspective for that could help relieve some anxiety in terms of like, well, how do I make sure that other people, you know, follow my boundaries and everything. Here in the center, I've been kind of mulling this over in the background since I've gone over like all of these, but I haven't gone over these ones yet. The Knight of Cups is about like moving forward and extending your sensitivities and your true feelings, like communicating about them and giving them to other people. And this Magician, like we've already talked about, like the nuance that's related to the Magician of being able to blend internal knowing and external knowing. And then with the Four of Swords, I keep hearing whenever I look at that, like give your heart a break. I'm pretty sure, like I'm hearing it kind of to a tune, so I'm pretty sure it's a song. I'm just not sure which one it is. But with the Magician and the Knight of Cups, I'm hearing, you know, when it's going to be appropriate to be vulnerable with people and to let people in. Your internal knowing and your external knowing are, they're still developing, yes, but you need to help develop them by trusting yourself, like practice trusting yourself and practice not blaming yourself harshly if things don't go correctly, or don't go the way that you were expecting them or wanting them to. think that's basically it for the messages that I have for you for tarot. I'm going to wrap this up with just some like regular advice cards. I had to go grab them. All right. What was that? Okay, nothing. So what are some final messages for pile 1? I am a spirit having a human experience, and I'm here to get closer to love. So part of the human experience is learning to be able to navigate the issue of love and fear. The fact that we have suffering in the world means that we are going to have to deal with fear. And there's always going to be a choice. Do you choose love or do you choose fear? And so it's kind of like, I think that that's kind of a reminder of like, hey, you know, this is part of the journey. You are not alone in struggling with trying to decide, you know, do I keep, how do I balance acting in love with protecting myself? Like not acting out of fear. How do I act in love? When I focus on my inner light, I see the world through the lens of love. Yeah, I mean, like, Ivana, like, the energy here has this, like, very ethereal, light-hearted quality to it. You have such a potential for, like, helping other people feel better, to give other people new perspective of things. I'm also hearing, like, some of y'all might have Aquarius placements, or be, like, really, like, Aquarius in your big 3, or, like, very Aquarius heavy in your chart. But basically just that, like, there's a lightness to you, that it naturally connects you to love, that you are, that's kind of something that you came into this world already really able to access that energy of love. And it's, the access point has been damaged, and that's really what's needing to be healed. You're not needing to learn how to love other people. You already know how to do that. You're needing to learn how to, I mean, like, to love yourself, and also to be able to love without reserve, without taking other people rejecting you personally. One more? One more, please. There we go. Energy flows where my intention goes. Yeah, I think that that's just pointing out, like, how truly powerful you are. You have this magician coming out here, like, you are able to direct your energy with what you want, with your intention. And so through accessing, like, practicing accessing that Empress energy through, like, saying, I want this, and going for that, or setting your intentions. You might be trying to work on, like, manifesting things. And so that might be something to consider. I'm hearing some of y'all need to work on how you set your intentions, maybe, like, getting more specific, rather, like, for example, rather than saying, like, I want to be rich, or I want to be happy, like, explain what being rich to you looks like to the universe. Explain what being happy looks like to the universe. Because is being happy able, like, I'm able to pay all my bills without worrying about them. I have extra money left over for whatever. I don't struggle with mental health issues. Like, I have good relationships with my family members. Like, what does all of what happiness entails for you? What does abundance all entail for you? Like, really think about your desires and what it is that you really want, and let the freedom of being able to choose your desires guide you. So that's all the messages that I have for you, pile number 1. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Hi there, pile 2. If you chose this card that says Revenge, then you are in the right place. So the question that we're going to be answering today is, what is your villain arc? So I'm going to be starting off with taking a look at your backstory, so to speak. And then after this, we'll move into the tarot and take a look at kind of like how you're moving from your backstory through like what exactly your villain arc looks like, advice from your spirit guides and from spirit itself, and just so I guess to elaborate more on what a villain is, in my opinion at least, so a villain is just another way to describe or like to call the antagonist. And in a story, the antagonist is not necessarily someone who is evil. The antagonist is a person who stands against the protagonist and prevents them from getting what they want, which is why things like society can be an antagonist, things like God could be an antagonist, just people or like fate could be an antagonist. However you want to look at it, it's more than just, it can be more than just a person that has been an antagonist and prevented the hero or the protagonist of the story from getting what they want. A lot of the time, antagonists are people who themselves were stopped from getting what they want, and now they're just, you know, really going after it. So yeah, we'll take a look and see what it is that sparked your journey, I guess. I'm connected to the earth and all life around me. You have myrrh or support. Trigger statement is I am not supported. The true statement is I move forward with divine grace. Take comfort and know that you are supported. Nurture your inner child and connect with the earth. We have the whale. We have colorless angel. We have love. We have the 5th house, passion. And we have temple secrets. Number 32, it says secrecy, isolation, observation, ritual magic. All right, that should be fine. All right, so despite this saying, I'm connected to the earth and all life around me, I don't get the impression that that was really true. I think that's something that she really wanted, especially with this love here. So with love here, with the 5th house in reverse, with this card saying I'm not supported, with this card being about like secrets and isolation, it's also interesting, it does talk about like the cycle of justice, so kind of roping in that whole revenge thing. I get the impression that you've spent a lot of time alone, and not necessarily by choice, at least at first. It wasn't by choice at first. I think a lot of you pretend like you're okay with being alone, or you tell yourself that you're okay with being alone. Perhaps even like harness, like fastening on to a lot of the wellness culture stuff that talks about like, you know, let's not be codependent or whatever. And so maybe you saw yourself as being previously codependent and like condemn your desire for human interaction and love and recognition as being attention seeking or codependent in ways that you don't like. And again, like, consult a professional for determining exactly like if it is codependency or whatever, because if you feel like you need to, at least. But I'm not getting the impression here that this was anything more than being a child who wanted affection and who wanted recognition and wanted people to interact with them. Nowadays, I get the sense that you spend a lot of your time like submerged, like you come up for like breaths of air, like this whale. You'll come up for air and to like interact with other people maybe a little bit. But it's not, it doesn't last for very long. And then you're kind of like right back down to the depths where you're much more comfortable, and where you feel much more at peace with everything. I'm hearing like I can control everything a lot better when I'm alone. With this 5th house here, you may have Leo placements. This also has to do, like Venus is in her joy here, so you may have like a Libra or Taurus rising, or like an otherwise prominently placed Venus. You could have, with this whale here, this is water placements. I'm getting mostly with like all the isolation and everything. The 12th house is associated with isolation. The 12th house is ruled by Pisces. So you may have a Pisces stellium, or a Pisces south node perhaps. This pile feels so lonely. Like accessing the inner child bits of this, like part of this is accessing like inner child work stuff for taking a look at your villain arc. Because I mean, this is your backstory. This is like where you came from. Spending a lot of time alone, learning how to enjoy your own company, which should be a valuable thing, but like it came at the expense of you convincing yourself that you are not connected to the world around me, that you are not supported, perhaps even that you're not worthy of love, or saying outright that you don't want love because of ways that you've been rejected in the past by other people. This card talks about like being quiet, or like going gray, or like numbing yourself to pain, such that when other people even like approach you to ask if you're okay, you just kind of go silent. Like you don't trust that other people will support you. You could have also been like severely, I'm hearing like some of y'all have been severely betrayed by someone that you really loved. Yeah, that you really cared about someone, or some people, maybe a whole group of friends. I'm hearing like Aquarius placement, that there's like something to do with like the 11th house, something like maybe transited your 11th house, and like around the time that you lost a whole bunch of friends. I'm not really sure, but at any rate, there's this like, it's a very avoidant energy, or almost maybe disorganized is probably, like, it's like disorganized leading avoidant, where it's the sense of like, fuck everyone else for leaving me alone, but also screw me for even wanting them around to begin with. There's a lot of like self-loathing, it feels like, and just like being in pain. Like this is, my heart really goes out to you, pile 2. This is a really hard place to come from. I'm also hearing that like you may have gone towards more like concerning attention-seeking behaviors, perhaps. So like perhaps your family, I'm hearing this is like very specific, but for some of your family may be very like straight-laced, and so you've gravitated towards like goth or alternative or punk kinds of things, to try and, I'm hearing the phrase negative attention will do. And so you may have like really gravitated towards horror or spooky things as a way to try and get recognition and acknowledgement and attention from family, even if it was going to be by way of criticism. So then you're kind of like, you spent a lot of time interjecting messages of both I am bad and other people are bad, which is like, that's how you end up getting like different attachment styles, basically. If secure attachment styles have a fundamental belief of their own goodness and the goodness of other people. Avoidant attachments have a belief in the goodness of other people, but a lack of but they believe that they themselves are a problem. Avoidant attachment people believe that they themselves are good and other people are the problem, and disorganized believe that both they themselves and other people are problems. And so here I'm getting much more of the like disorganized avoidant. So maybe go take a look at that. I'm not sure why I keep talking about that, but yeah, I think from what I can see here, like I totally get, like if you chose revenge because you feel like that would be your villain motivation, or maybe you yourself like do want revenge, or like think about like justice where it's like, aha, like I'm going to show all of them, you know, how valuable I was this whole time and they're going to regret what they ever, you know, did to me. This fifth house can be a lot about like creativity and stuff. So you might like have fantasies about like, oh, I'm going to become like super famous and super rich because of, you know, being able to create and everything. And then they'll be sorry. There's like a sense of wanting to be successful. Maybe like your family, maybe you had parents who were workaholics, parents or guardians who are workaholics. And so you didn't really see them a lot. Or it ended up feeling like they didn't care a lot about you. I'm hearing for some of y'all, so like this is related to Leo, I'm hearing for some of y'all, like they really tried to like make up for it with gift giving or just like buying you things, but it's like, I'm hearing, no, I didn't want stuff. I wanted your time. I wanted to be with you. Like, yeah. So I think that's all the messages that I have for this section. So we're going to go ahead and move into the tarot. All right. So I'm using the Wandering Spirit Tarot. I'm going to give it, it's already been shuffled a whole bunch, but I'm going to give it my usual 3. Well, that was loud. All right. Yeah, the King of Wands on the back. Fiery. Okay. Spirits, guides of pile 2, or spirit guides of pile 2. If you guys have any messages that you would like to let's see. All right, so the 9 of Cups in reverse. I'm hearing yourself sabotaging. The 8 of Pentacles. I'm hearing that some of y'all like didn't know anything else, so a lot of y'all have turned into workaholics. I'm hearing, and it's killing me. Oh wow, and as I heard that, the Tower came out. Tower in reverse. It's like a need to rebuild something. King of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and put these back. All right, back of the deck is the 3 of Swords in reverse. All right, 9 of Cups. Can I get a clarifier, please? Okay. So we have the Knight of Swords. I'm hearing on guard. And I'm being shown, I saw a TikTok last night while I was doom scrolling. Anyways, I saw a TikTok last night where it's a woman talking about, or like doing a sketch where they talk about like basically like fighting your blessings, where you know, you spend so much of your time when you're young, or like early on in your journey, feeling like you have to fight for everything. Oh, the candle just went out. I'll have to replace that. So anyways, feeling like you have to fight for so much, for so long, that you end up like, when blessings come in, you mistake them for things that you also have to fight. And your guide's just being like, dude, what the fuck? Like, this is, you know, your blessings. Clarifier for the Tower in reverse, please. I'm hearing you have an opportunity to rebuild that you are refusing. Yeah, Page of Pentacles. There's like a, no, I want to do it my way. Now I'm hearing like the song from Tangled where Mother Gothel is like, Mother knows, or like Rapunzel knows best, that part. Since she's so mature now, like that kind of thing. All right, and Ace of Cups, King of Pentacles in reverse. And we've got the Two of Swords on the back of the deck. Okay, and then the final energy is the High Priestess in reverse. Okay. So I'm hearing you have totally perfectly fine connection to your inner voice. You're just basically saying, like, stop talking. That it's not in alignment with things that your ego wants, and so you are rejecting your inner voice, and it is getting you off track, or you feel like it is getting you off track. So starting right here, like right off the bat, you know, Nine of Cups reverse being clarified by the Knight of Swords, like you are trying to act so logical on this, and like so, you are so mentally on the defensive, that things that bring you emotional joy they feel threatening. Like you have been having to live in the mental space for so long, that like fully feeling your emotions, even if they're happy ones, just brings you this sense of like, ugh, like you just want to defend against it. Like, I've heard that like, or I'm hearing that like some of y'all are like closing off your softer emotions because you've been closing yourself off to the pain as well. That like when you're closing off the pain, all of the good shit goes with it too. Like, and you know, you can get it back, but it's like, it comes back to that whole colorless angel thing, or the colorless angel card that we got before from your backstory, where like you may be intentionally choosing to numb yourself to pain, to the things that you are, the things that you're fighting, like to numb yourself to the stuff that you don't want to heal, is what I'm hearing. So I feel like in a lot of ways, this revenge card, like, I don't have a problem with revenge personally. I mean, I can be a pretty vengeful person, and I think that, you know, I think that sometimes revenge is completely warranted. So this is not me like trying to get preachy on y'all or anything. But sometimes we can get so caught up in our quest for revenge that we stop asking ourselves the question of, would getting my way, would getting this revenge, would this really allow me to heal? Would this really let me, like if things played out the way that I fantasize about them, would I actually get what I wanted? Would I be happy at the end of it? I think that sometimes our quest for revenge, we can lose sight of what we really need rather than just what we want, you know? And so I think like part of that comes in with the Eight of Pentacles and Death in reverse. I think that you have been working really hard. I'm hearing a lot of y'all have realized that you've been just sitting in this energy of revenge and like, I'm hearing self-pity for some of y'all, especially with this like 3 of Swords in reverse here. And this like rejecting the 9 of Cups in reverse. Like, you've been working, like you have recognized that you've been sitting in that energy, and you are working to get out of it, but there's also all of this like, there's this sense of there's so much work ahead of me to rebuild everything, to rebuild this, everything that broke. There's maybe this like, you need to take a look at the defeatist attitude that you're having of like, I'll never be able to build what I had before. Because like, yeah, like you won't be able to build what you had before. Like, everything changes, everything is going to be different. And unfortunately, the thing that you had before, whatever it was, whatever that security that you were looking for, it is not, it was always going to change, even if it was going to, even if it should have lasted, if that makes sense. Like, there's a sense of trying to really work at resisting change. And maybe that's something that like comes into for some of y'all about your journey, about your villain arc, is that like you're putting in more effort to resist the way that the universe is trying to bring changes into your life, or like trying to get you to change, that it's like it's so much more exhausting to resist the change. I just keep hearing your guides telling me like, you need to let go. Like, I think that's part of like why this tower is here. So in the traditional iconography of the tower, there's 2 people like falling from the tower. I'm trying to remember if it's the original iconography or if it's like it's like a reboot of it. But anyways, there's 2 people falling from the tower, and one of them is fully surrendered to the fall. And it's just like, they're going, but they have their crown still on, while the other person who's falling is like they look like they're trying to navigate where they're going to fall, and they've lost their crown completely, and had to leave it behind. And so like here, this crown is falling. Like, I'm hearing that there's a lot of like wounded pride, where it's like they should have known how great I was. They should have known, I'm hearing they should have known how to treat me. Man, there's so much like resistance energy here. And now I'm hearing like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Netflix show, Altered Carbon, but there's like a phrase there, they say like, we are envoys, we take what is given, that you are not taking what is being given to you. And so it's like you're seeking all of this success, like trying to feel successful, trying to find like other ways to get this revenge, I guess. Because like I think at this point, like it's pretty safe to say like it feels like here this pile is feeling like they want to make other people feel bad for how they were treated. And so I think that you're getting so caught up in trying to make other people feel bad that you are perpetuating your own suffering, to put it bluntly. You have the capacity to be this like fully abundant person, but even if you do gain abundance, even if there are things that are like right there in front of you that are freaking amazing, that's, you know, like you could manifest the most amazing thing that like perfectly fits everything that you could have ever wanted to replace what it is that you lost. Like maybe it's even better than what you had before, but you were so focused on, no, I am, you know, upset with how it happened before. Like I wanted this other thing, but like you're just not even like willing to be open to accepting that kind of stuff right now. I think this will change. I think this is like part of the journey that you're having to go through. But I'm just like, I'm getting the impression that your guides are like so frustrated with how stubborn you're being. You need to stop deliberating on whether or not you're gonna let this go and like fully feel through it and heal it. Whatever this heartbreak was, whatever this like thing that made you feel like you had to forsake other people, or this heartbreak of having never been like seen or cherished the way that you wanted to be when you were growing up, like whatever that pain is, you need to stop going back and forth on, do I heal it? Do I let it fester? Because right now it is festering, and it is a key source of why you feel so exhausted right now. Yeah, I think that's all the messages I have for this part. I'm sorry that wasn't more uplifting. I do think that there is a lot of hope for this situation, for you being able to heal. But right now, like, there is such an emphasis being placed on, you've got to let this go in order to truly ascend. Like, yes, you will still get a villain arc. Like, you did not deserve to be treated those ways. But I think you need to ask yourself, is obsessing over making them pay really the kind of revenge that you want to be giving? Like, do you want to keep putting energy into this situation, into this pain? Do you want to carry, like, do you want to continuously build an altar in your heart to this stuff? Or do you want to let it go and walk away? And that this Five of Swords here, it's like Pyrrhic victories. It's where like there's one person who's got the 5 swords and then 2 other people, or maybe it's 3 swords and it's 2 other people walking away after a fight. Do you want to walk away? Or do you want a victory that will never taste as sweet as you imagine it tasting? Yeah, King of Cups being underneath that, like, your guides are really encouraging you to be focusing on being able to experience the full range of emotions and no longer shutting out like sadness, no longer shutting out your grief, no longer shutting out your anger. Because in a way, like, even though this is like a revenge pile, I feel like I don't get the impression that y'all think of yourselves as particularly emotional. Like, maybe you do experience like a lot of like reactive anger or feel like you're very angry, but I would look at the ways that you're also suppressing like other kinds of anger. There I said that I thought that there weren't any more messages, but there were. So we're gonna wrap up with just some like message cards. So if there's anything else that you want them to hear, spirit and guides, let's hear it for pile 2, please. I choose to learn through love. I feel like that one is pretty self-explanatory. Okay. The more energy and intention I bring to my faith, the more fearless and free I am. I'm not quite sure what to make of that one right now. I mean, like, the hummingbird's oftentimes a symbol of transformation. I'm hearing the phrase, like, you are chaining yourself to this situation. If you don't feel free it's because you are holding on. There's like a lot of fear around, well, if I don't keep holding on, then I'll be in free fall. Like, this is all I knew. What else? Like, what else is there? And it's like, well, the only way you're going to learn what's at the bottom of the valley is you're going to have to fall. You're going to just have to surrender. And that's really scary. But choosing to learn through love, like choosing love rather than fear, choosing to love yourself enough to let go of all of this pain and finally let yourself heal from it. Like, it's one of the most valuable gifts you can give yourself. One more card, please, Spirit. One more card, please. All right. My outer experiences are a reflection of my internal condition. I oftentimes don't like cards like this because they feel really victim blamey. And that's like, I'm probably going to put a trigger warning on this pile just so that people know, like, hey, like, if you're not in a place where you could hear, like, you're perpetuating your own suffering, so they should probably not listen to this pile. But anyways, have the idea of, like, my outer experience is a reflection of my internal condition. I think it's a bit more nuanced than just like, you cause whatever it is that you're thinking. Like, I think it's that the stories that we tell ourselves about what's happening around us are, they influence our perception of everything, which means that they influence our reality. And so what you consider to be your outer experiences, so like, say for example, you are at the grocery store and you see someone like make a face and it seems like they're looking at you. If your internal condition, if your the stories that you tell yourself are people are shitty and judgmental and that person, like, then you're probably going to be telling yourself something like, or interpreting everything as, well, that person is, you know, shitty and judgmental and that's why they were looking at me all bad. And you're going to get up in your head about it and everything. But it's possible that that wasn't even what happened at all. Like, that they could have, you know, maybe they have earbuds in or something and they heard a horrible song come on that they needed to skip, or maybe they saw something past you that didn't have anything to, maybe they thought of something weird. Like, there's a plethora of other explanations for things. I think that it's important to remember that when you're perpetuating all of this, like, when you're perpetuating and sitting in your own suffering and pain, it's really easy to slip into narratives around, like, feeling isolated, narratives around, especially, like, if isolation is really all you knew, like, if you kept choosing to isolate yourself after, you know, feeling like you were rejected by other people, like, it's a really hard narrative to get out of. And my heart really goes out to you guys for having to go through that. Like, this is, it takes a lot of inner strength to overcome our own narratives, especially narratives that we feel like life itself taught us. Like, even if it feels like you have every right to have that narrative, choosing to see through the eyes of love, choosing to learn through compassion and letting things go is going to help you be in so much more of a healthy mental energy in the long run. And I think that's ultimately what this villain arc is trying to get you to be going towards. Is to be, I mean, ultimately, like, getting into that health, getting what it is that you really want. Maybe what it is that you really want is that connection rather than the revenge. So that's all the messages that I have for this pile. Thank you so much for tuning in and sitting through all of that. Let me know how you thought about it, I guess, and I will see you in another pick-a-pile. Hi there, pile 3. If you picked peace, this card says peace, then you are in the right place. All right, so the question that we're going to be answering today is, what is your villain arc? So this first bit, we're going to be taking a look at your backstory or like origin story, where you came from and everything, partly to check the energies, but also partly to just like, you know, take a look at everything. And then the next section will be tarot, where we will be taking a look at I guess like what your arc is going to look like and any advice that your guides have or any messages that they have for you. And then we'll polish it off with just any extra messages that your guides or the universe want to give. So I guess to like start off, to define like villain, whenever I'm talking about villain, I think about like how villain is another word for like the antagonist of a story, and the antagonist is not someone who is necessarily bad or evil in some way or like morally deficient. They are typically an entity of some kind, like it's either like God or man or society or nature, like something else that prevents the protagonist from getting what it is that they really want. And so when people talk about like being in their villain era or like being on their villain arcs, it's about like becoming someone who doesn't give people what they want, is how I usually think about it. Or that they are changing to, like, ultimately I think that when people talk about like their villain arc, what they're really talking about is like their shadow integration journey. And so in a lot of ways, like this is taking a look at your shadow. So buckle up, we're gonna start right now. So first we have gratefully, I surrender my struggle. We have the elephant in reverse. We have jasmine, or passion. The trigger statement is I am scared. The true statement is when I am vulnerable, I am at my strongest. Reconnect with your feminine energy and pursue something that ignites your fire. Open the gates of your fortress and explore. I think it's interesting that it's like the same color and like it references fire and everything. We have cosmic gateway, number 8, insecurities, connection with others, refocusing. Let's go and put that here. We have truth. Again, someone holding something red. We have Cancer, immerse. And we have number 30, calling the storm. Okay, so with this pile, there's some really interesting energies at work here. So something that is something that oftentimes I feel like doesn't get talked about as much when it comes to like divine feminine. There's a lot of divine feminine energy here, just in general. Like elephants, for example, are matriarchal. And then we've got, you know, a shaman woman here, as she is described in the booklet. We have another woman here. We have another woman. The Cancer is associated with the moon, which is the mother, which is more feminine energy. Like, this one is, I believe it's the sacral chakra, or the sacral point, which is like creative energies and everything. I feel like you are someone who really naturally embodies divine feminine traits, like being very creative, being very caring, empathetic, compassionate, being receptive, being much more like still, or much more interested in being still. I mean, like, you picked peace, so like that kind of tracks. But I think that part of this, part of the thing that people don't talk enough about or have enough acceptance of when it comes to the divine feminine is the divine feminine rage, or the justice that comes along with embodying that feminine energy. For example, so I'm a Kemetic pagan, right? And one of the goddesses that I work with is Hathor-Sopdet. Hathor is considered to be an eye of Ra, as far as I understand at least, where she is sent by essentially the king of the gods to enact divine justice. And an aspect of her, especially when she's enacting that divine justice, is the goddess Sekhmet, who is associated with like war and the story of how she mauled a bunch of people, like went too far in pursuing the divine justice that Ra had sent her to deal with, and had to be like lulled to sleep. I'm feeling like you may really feel like you struggle with anger issues, or you suppress your anger so well that you are not, that like it almost like doesn't exist for you. Like you don't think of yourself as an angry person. So it's like there's kind of two groups here. One is that the group of I'm a very angry person and I repress it and bottle it up really well. And there's the group of I just don't experience anger. I disassociate from my anger and from all of my other, or like, and from a lot of my other emotions as a result. And I feel like this happened at a pretty young age, where people felt like maybe like you did get really angry when you were younger. Maybe you did really like, especially like if you're defending your people or the things that you consider yours, like I just get the sense of you are not someone who is a stranger to anger and what that anger feels like. And so I think here, you've in a lot of ways shut off access, like when you were younger, shut off a lot of your creative capacities and your ability to like sit in your desires and be like, this is what I really want. And you just started like going with, like focusing on going with the flow, because you were so afraid of being cut off from other people. It was kind of like the whole like gratefully I surrender my struggle. It's just like you just decided that there weren't really any hills to die on, that keeping the peace was going to be so much more important in the long run. And you know, that could have been something that you decided on your own. It could have been like, I'm hearing some of y'all had family members who really pressured you to be the bigger person, and to let things go that you otherwise like would not have felt comfortable letting go. There's just this focus on, I just don't want it to be that difficult. I just don't want it to be, I want to transcend all of this. Like, I just want to get away from this. So you may like really struggle with escapism or like maladaptive daydreaming disorder. Trying to get away from feeling like you can't express how you really feel about things. The truth of your very nature, that you are a passionate, creative person who wants things. Everyone wants things. And so I feel like you're almost like afraid of wanting things. You're afraid of what are people going to think? You know, what are people going to gonna say? How am I gonna feel? Like, is this gonna, you know, isolate me from other people? Is this gonna cut me off from the things that I really want? Like, maybe you were convinced that you were too emotionally volatile when you were younger, and so you just cut off like any of your emotions or any of your passion. And so when you cut off from those emotions of passion, I mean, like, we all have to live in alignment with the life that we think is our highest good, but I know from myself at least, and I would guess for you too, and it's kind of like, I've got a Cancer moon. I know that for me, I really embody a lot of the divine feminine energies and stuff in terms of like being very creative. But so it's like, I can relate to the feeling of worrying that if I really express how I feel, if I call in the storm, if I really like fully let my emotions go, if I fully express myself as I want to, people are going to be upset with me, or I'm not going to get what it is that I really want out of life. Not necessarily like looking for relationships with other people, because you might not be motivated towards that. I think you're pretty people motivated from what I can tell, but if in case that you are not, it could also be that like you see people as obstacles in terms of like that if you show too much of your emotional hand, so to speak, that they will, you know, block you off. And that's something with like here with this elephant. So elephants are representative of like removing obstacles, and that's something for like the Hindu god Ganesha is representative of an elephant, and oftentimes is called in or like called upon to help bring in new opportunities or to remove obstacles from a path. And it feels kind of like here, like if you meet an obstacle, you just go the other way. That's like, clearly that wasn't meant for me. Like it was, there was something in the way. I was gonna have to create waves. I'm not gonna, you know, I'm just gonna not. And so there's this like really self-sacrificing energy that I think you might internalize as being the bigger person or transcending your shadow, when in actuality it's just perpetuating it, and preventing you from really embracing all of yourself. Yeah, I think that's all the messages that I have for this section, so I'm going to move on to the tarot. This is the Wandering Spirit Tarot. It's one of my favorites. All right. Spirit, guides of pile 3, please show us what their villain arc is like, what it is that they're going to be having to go through, the milestones they'll be hitting, and any advice or information that you want to give about that. We are all ears. Okay, I'm going to put this back. Am I supposed to take that? Okay, so we have the Lovers, the Two of Wands, and the Page of Pentacles. Oh no, the Five of Pentacles. Sorry about that. So I think these are supposed to go like that. No, other way. Okay. All right, one more please. one more for this upper row. Okay, we've got two more. So we have Temperance in reverse and the Six of Swords. Okay, and back of the deck is the Emperor. Okay, can I get a clarifier for the Five of Pentacles in reverse, please? Okay, the Chariot in reverse. It's interesting. This came out exactly in this position in another pile, so you might have messages in another pile. Might want to go check that out. Two of Wands in reverse, please. Okay. The Queen of Cups. And clarifier for the Lovers. Page of Wands in reverse. Clarifier for the Six of Swords. Temperance in reverse, please. The Knight of Pentacles. All right, and then can I get a clarifier? Oh, it's on the back of the deck. The Moon. Nice, okay. And then we have the Three of Pentacles. So this is a really interesting mix of energies. I think it's really fascinating that the Emperor came out when this is associated with the divine feminine more so, like when all of that energy was before. I feel like you're kind of being called to rebalance your energies, that's going to be part of your journey, is getting more into the flow of that divine masculine energy, which is more about like taking action, more about asserting how you assert yourself in your environment. I also have a number of pages here from, let's see, Page of Wands. No, just one? I could have sworn we had more than that. I guess because I thought this was a page. So I think here, one of the first steps is leaving behind this energy of, I never get what I want. Because kind of like what we were talking about earlier, if you never share your desires, you aren't going to get what you want. So if you have that whole internalized like narrative going on, it might be a good idea to take a look at like if you've actually been vocalizing what it is that you want, especially if you're frustrated in a relationship currently with like how someone is treating you. This Two of Wands and the Queen of Cups. You need to stop waiting to be invited to share how you really feel. That's going to be a key part of your journey as well. So part of leaving, like, and that's kind of, I think there's a lot of energy here about convincing yourself that people really actually do care. That people do, like, Three of Pentacles here, that people do want to collaborate with you on things. That people do want to listen to what you have to say. That what you have to say is valuable. That you do have a valuable perspective to add to things. and just leaving behind, like the Six of Swords here is about leaving behind things that are no longer serving you. And with this Temperance coming out here in reverse, it's almost like you have gone too far the other direction of being the bigger person, and it just leads you to leaving behind being able to persevere and work for things. Part of your journey is going to be developing diligence that you were not able to develop because you weren't able to go after the thing. You didn't feel comfortable going after what you wanted. And so I think that's like partly why this Emperor energy is here, is because of that resilience, that stubbornness. Like the Emperor is associated with Aries and Mars, where Aries is the ram, like ramming your way through things. I think there's also a sense of like no longer being afraid of your own power, of your innate ability, like recognizing that you are a supremely competent individual, that you can do all these things, that you have every right to assert yourself and to make waves. You don't have to. I'm hearing like the story of a villain who wanted peace, and the way that they got peace was basically through, I think that you're worried that if you really push for things, that you're going to start belittling and bullying people, or that you're going to go too far and start hurting other people. And I don't see any evidence here of that happening. I think you've just been wrongly convinced to be afraid of your own power. I don't know if you've ever watched Steven Universe, or specifically like Steven Universe Future, but I'm being reminded of like, there's a part, an episode where Steven goes to train with Jasper, one of the other characters who's like angry and isolates themselves, and is like really concerned with like fighting and pushing for things. And they talk about how they use their anger to power the things that they're trying to do, that they use anger as a motivator. And Steven is like really resistant to opening himself up to experiencing his anger because he's afraid that he's going to hurt people. He's afraid that he's going to make a mess. And he does, because he's never fully opened up about his power. He's never fully used that anger. So it's like atrophied in a way that he doesn't have good control over it. And I think there needs to be some acceptance here of, yeah, this process is probably going to be messy. You are probably going to hurt people while you're going through this. That isn't to say that you intended to hurt them, or that if you go on this journey that you will hurt them, but it's just, you don't know yet. Like, you are not, it's not fair to expect you to be able to perfectly wield an emotion, or like to fully experience an emotion that you have limited experience of allowing yourself to feel, or to do things that you have very limited experience going for. I'm hearing like some of y'all might be really itching to move out, and to really like get your own place and separate yourself from your family. Not that they're like bad or a problem or anything, but just that, you really want to be out on your own. And perhaps there's this fear of like, I don't know what to do. Like, I've heard talk about like health insurance. What do I have to do about that? Like, how am I going to register my car? Like, usually my dad takes care of all this stuff, or usually, my mom does my laundry, like stuff like that. Like, feeling like you are too enmeshed, that you don't know what to do. And I think you need to give yourself some grace. Like, an important part of this process is going to be giving yourself some grace for the things that you didn't know, or the things that you don't know yet. embracing independence and adulthood and embracing going after what you want is a whole process. And it's not fair to expect you to get it right the first time. I mean, like, it's like literally not fair, because that's not the way that it really works. Like, we are constantly in the process of becoming. We are constantly in the process of changing, if we let ourselves, at least. And so I think here, I think your guides just want you to know that it's gonna all be okay. Like, especially with this Lovers here, where like you've got the skeleton like crowning the woman. Here, let me show you. Like the skeleton crowning this woman, like with his own, like, it's his own lower jaw. I feel like you were being, I'm hearing you were being crowned. Just that your guides want you to know how special and precious you are, and how much they want to give you the world. How much they want to help you go after what it is that you want, that you are divinely supported. Like, you are divinely supported. You are not going to be alone in this process of figuring everything out. Yeah, I think they just really want you to know that you got this. That they have, you know, with you being such a growth-oriented person, at least in terms of like wanting to transcend more base qualities of the human experience, you already have that drive to improve. And so I think that it's going to be really easy to co-opt it, to just be able to move forward properly. So I think that's all of the messages that I have for this section. So we're going to finish it off with some, just some message cards and see if there's anything left. Anything left unsaid? Okay. When I lean on certainty and faith, I change my mind about the world that I see. Interesting. The Lovers here is about like making a choice, or like the Lovers like upright can be about like being decisive, like making that choice, making that commitment, no longer being like going back and forth on everything. Yeah. I think being decisive and open about what you really want really will change like how you see the world. I think you'll start seeing all of those invitations that you've been looking for. I think you're going to start seeing those invitations a lot more when you are kind of like when you're no longer looking for them. Can I get another, please? What else do you have for pile 3? Okay, I'll take it. In every moment, the universe is conspiring to bring me towards right-minded thinking and the energy of love. Yeah, I think like coming out right there, like you are absolutely fully supported in this. Like you are not going to be brought off the beaten path. You're not going to go so far astray into experiencing your anger. Like that, they're not going to let that happen. Like you do not need to worry about like, oh, well, what happens if I totally change my entire morals and values system because I experienced emotions that I don't think are appropriate. It's not going to happen. Trust yourself, okay? And last card, please. Just one more. One more. find a deeper meaning and personal growth amid the discomfort. Yeah, so I think that like there's kind of I think I touched on this but didn't go super in depth into this, because of that whole like having not really put, like we talked about like hitting resistance and getting uncomfortable and like immediately like leaving, like not being willing to fight for what it is that you really want. And I think that there's kind of this like, hey, instead of thinking about being the bigger person means, I'm being reminded of one of my favorite quotes from Martin Luther King Jr. Is from his letters from Birmingham prison. And at least I believe that's what it's called. But anyways, he talks about that there's two different kinds of pieces. That there's a peace which is the presence of, or which is the absence of tension. And then there is a peace which is the presence of justice. And I think to pull from that, sometimes the most correct thing is the thing that doesn't come naturally, or that is going to be uncomfortable. Sometimes being the bigger person is speaking up and being loud and angry and saying, screw that, like, I'm not letting that happen. And that's especially true when it comes to like social justice stuff, which like some of y'all may be really into like anti-racism work and maybe have hit like a block recently, or are feeling like there's things that you're not getting. That this is like peace, which is the presence of justice, rather than peace, which is the absence of tension, is like, it's a very key thing to resolving those conflicts. Justice is supposed to be like, it's an equalizer, and in that, like, it's a uniter. And so it's, I think, and I hope, I think your guides are hoping that you are able to start thinking about being the bigger person is doing the thing that's more difficult. Is saying the thing that no one else will say, is putting a stop to the thing that no one else will put a stop to. And I think that you're going to be able to find a lot of, I think you're going to be able to find a lot more lasting peace that way. So that's all of the messages that I have for you for this pile. Hopefully I get to see you in another one at another point. But until then, take care, and I wish you every happiness and good thing on your journey. See you later. Hi there, pile 4. If you chose this card that says power, you are in the right place. So the question that we are answering today is, what does my villain arc look like, or what is my villain arc? And to just go over real quickly, like what we're going to be doing, I'm going to take a look at your backstory, and then in this section and then the next section, we're going to break out the tarot and take a look at what the arc actually looks like what things that you're going to be going through, what milestones you're going to hit, potentially, and just whatever else your guides want to say about it, or any advice that they have right now for this portion of your journey. I guess to start off with, I wanted to talk about like what a villain actually is. So whenever I think about a villain, I think about it in terms of like a story, because people are complicated. There's no such thing as like a purely good or purely bad person. People have mixes of all of the energies. And so with that, when we talk about villains, villains are antagonists ultimately. An antagonist within a story is a person who, or it could be, society, could be culture, could be God, could be nature, whatever. But oftentimes it is a person who stands in the way of the protagonist getting what they want. And so when we talk about villain arcs, a lot of the times what we're really talking about is our shadow work journey. We're talking about the things that we feel like confronting the parts of ourselves that other people have told us are a problem, and that we have given them over what they wanted. And so it's starting to put up resistance against how people have demanded us to change in a lot of ways. And so ultimately, like, this is an important part of shadow work and talks about a shadow journey. So we'll go ahead and get started taking a look at where yours kind of started. So first we have, I choose to nourish myself and enrich my life. We have spikenard or faith. Trigger statement is, why does this always happen to me? The true statement is, I am at peace. Know that everything will work out as it needs to, and hold a space of gratitude as you watch the miracles unfold. And we have the nightingale. We have blinded to pain, number 13. We have the power of presence. We have Leo. And we have willpower. I think I like this arrangement best. Okay. I like to arrange them according to like where the colors are and everything, just so that it's a bit more pleasing to my eyes. And more numbers here. Power of presence is number 25, and Leo here is number 5. So I think it's interesting that there's a large amount here of being like, okay, so when it talks about being blinded to pain here, I don't so much get the impression that you were or have been a person who like pretends to not be feeling their pain. I think that you were afraid of vocalizing that you were in pain. And it felt more so like other people were blind to the things that you were experiencing, and that you had to prove it to them. You had to show them what that pain, like you would have to work to show them your perspective, the things that you were experiencing. I have this like sense of feeling like the world was really callous to you when you were young, or like has been very callous to you as you've been like before you've reached this point. And there's been a lot of stuff where it's kind of like I'm hearing the phrase pull yourself up by your bootstraps, which is like metaphorically and literally it's impossible to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's something that was actually created to make fun of that whole self-sufficiency mindset. But I think here, like, you were really expected to, I'm hearing the phrase shut up and take it. You were supposed to just trust that everything would work out the way that it was supposed to, when things were very clearly just hurting. And that there were things that could have been done by the people around you to address that pain, in much more meaningful ways than they were being addressed, or that those people saw. Yeah. So the nightingale here is about like letting your authentic voice be heard. That's something that's very important in this Leo sign. And then we've got, power of presence, a power struggle, unlock your potential, authenticity. Like, there's a lot here about you feeling like you did not have the chance to be your authentic self, or that you had to spend a lot of extra time asserting who you were so that people around you would recognize you. I'm hearing the phrase, it's physically painful to not be seen, or to be misunderstood. So I think if I were to guess why you picked power, like if you were picking because of the picture or the color, like, that's cool. If you picked it because you felt like you most identified with wanting power. I would guess that it's because you want to be able to force people to see. You want to force change. You want the ability to make it so that people, I'm hearing, aren't so ignorant anymore. And now I'm hearing that people are sheep, and hearing the phrase like the lion lays down with the lamb. So you may be a person who feels like you're very different, very separate from other people. That you are, I'm hearing, soar high above the rest. Perhaps like you're someone who identifies with the idea of like being a burned out gifted kid, where like you really were put on a pedestal when you were younger for all of the things that all of your talents and the things that you're able to do. Since like I'm hearing the phrase like dance monkey dance. So there might have been this sense of like you really only got attention if you performed in ways that other people or that like the adults and authority figures in your life really wanted you to, but that the ways that you truly wanted to express yourself were not really supported. So like for example, say you really, really wanted to play piano or like go to piano lessons, but your mom played the piccolo when she was growing up, and so wants you to take on, playing the piccolo too. And so, you're still like doing the creative things and like it all being like tangentially related, but it wasn't what you wanted. It wasn't the way that you envisioned things. And so it's almost like I'm hearing like people were continually finding ways to get you to compromise on what it is that you really want from life and from yourself and the things that you put energy into, that you were expected to compromise a lot. And I think that this seeking of power, that it's the sense of you don't want to have to compromise anymore, that a lot of your villain arc is about like learning about the nature of compromise. I'm hearing that you might have some Aries placements in addition to the Leo. Like you may have Leo placements. There's also some air placements here with this nightingale. I'm seeing a lot of like fire and air. There's also some earth. There's not really anything in the way of what I call water. I mean, like you could count this as like standing on the earth or standing like water being on the earth, but I think that this one's just like sticking with me with the whole like power struggle, unlock your potential, authenticity. You may have really felt the need to, or you may have been like accused of being like argumentative on purpose, or that like, I'm hearing the phrase like oppositional defiance disorder. You may have had like parents throw that around, or just be accused of, I'm hearing like you say no too much, which is something that like my parents told me when I was younger. So if that's something that you also heard a lot, like can relate, and it is not pleasant. I think when it comes to this with the I choose to nourish myself and enrich my life, I don't think that this is so much about like, I think that other people thought that they knew how to enrich your life, or that like they knew what was best. But I think here there's a sense of like, I want the ability to self-determine. I choose what enriches my life. I choose what I eat, what I want to ingest or like bring into my body, what I want to be influenced by. I think there's also a little bit of like, perhaps when you were younger, you felt a bit like a victim. Like you were kind of small, or like you didn't have that because other people had power over you, that you weren't able to self-determinate. And so there's this kind of like, maybe you like frequently hit blocks of, you know, finding that there were authority figures standing in your way, or that there were obstacles to you being able to truly do what it is that you want. And so it kind of started this internal narrative of feeling like the universe was against you, or feeling like you had to like exert even more willpower, or like accrue even more competency or ability to push yourself out there. So like that whole burned out part of the burned out gifted kid thing might be especially true right now. I'm feeling particularly tired getting to this pile. I don't think that it's from just having done 3 readings previously to this, but it could be. I'm just getting the sense of like, ugh, like I can't keep doing this. I can't keep on doing this. And now I'm hearing like a Selena Gomez song. I think it's called Round and Round. I don't even know, but I think that's all the messages for this section. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to tarot. All right. This is the Wandering Spirit Tarot. Right off the bat, we've got the 8 of Wands cutting in. All right, Spirit and guides of pile number 4. We're wanting to know more about their villain arc, what their journey for that looks like, as well as any advice that you have for it. Just whatever you want to say about it. We are all ears. We have the World in reverse. We have the Emperor. We have the 9 of Wands. Spirit. Okay. We have the King of Cups. On the back of the deck, we have the 6 of Pentacles in reverse. Okay. Can I please get a clarifier for the world? In reverse. Why is this card in reverse here, Spirit? It's too many. All right, the Ace of Swords. I'm hearing the phrase, the truth of the matter is. Hopefully it'll become clear why that's relevant here in a bit. Can I get a clarifier for the Emperor, please? We have the 5 of Pentacles in reverse. I'm hearing, don't leave me here. The 9 of Wands. The 4 of Wands in reverse. King of Cups, please. I'm going to clarify for the King of Cups. Okay. We have the 3 of Cups. And our back of the deck is the Ace of Wands in reverse. And we have the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. The Knight of Pentacles has been coming out a lot. A lot. I want to say it came out 3 out of 4 of the piles. I don't quite remember. All right. So the first message that I've got for you is you are more than welcome to pursue continuing to accrue power, which if that's like knowledge and competency, if that's degrees and licensing, I'm hearing the phrase fuck you money. So like you might be like really pushing for earning a lot. Basically, you are more than welcome to continue to pursuing power. You just need to know that it's a lonely road. And you need to like actually accept that if you're gonna try and like make everything be according to your vision, you can't also be upset when other people don't want to play along. Like, it's not fair to expect everyone else to go along with your vision when you don't want to go along with theirs. So it's like, you're welcome to not compromise. You just can't also be sad about being alone, is what I'm hearing. So that's kind of like there's kind of a choice there for you. Like, I don't think that you are, I don't get the impression that you're like a callous person, or that you're a person who doesn't, I don't think that your field of fucks is barren, so to speak. I get the impression that you are a caring person. You might not be defined by your compassion, but you do have full range of emotions. You have people that you're connected to. I don't so much get right now that like people are necessarily the problem. I think there is some fear that I'm seeing here over, are they going to abandon me if I go this way? And I mean, like, we kind of already addressed that. It's a possibility. And you do have to be okay with that if you take the route that you do. It's kind of like you have to decide, is your vision more important to you, or are your people more important to you? And there's not really a wrong answer here. I almost feel like these are like, this is like an act, or like a fulcrum or whatever, that this is like the center point, and that these are two different options or two different paths that you can go. You can either go the way of like transforming yourself into this like bastion of compassion and empathy, and focusing on like being in community with other people, focusing on like collaborative projects. But I think ultimately, like, it does not lead you to being true to yourself. I think it will just make you feel like you're giving things that other people don't deserve. I think that it's just going to create more frustration for you. I think it's going to make you feel more bitter to continue to try and placate other people, or to continue to try to include other people. But that is an option for you. It's not necessarily a wrong choice. It's just, it's a different set of lessons. It's the power of being able to compromise. And that's okay. The frustration doesn't necessarily have to last forever, you know? I think that, you know, you also will have lots of other fulfilling things. You're going to feel like a master of your emotions rather than, or like a master of the heart rather than, you know, a master of the environment and everything else. And that's not such a bad thing. But then over here, I kind of have the feeling that it's like it's a double-edged sword, so to speak, if you'll forgive the pun, where if you pursue this emperor, if you pursue being in this emperor energy and getting whatever it is that you want, having everything in your environment align with your vision, not being willing to compromise, and you're okay with being alone, I think it will make you feel fulfilled in a way, but I don't think it's going to be ending the cycles that you need to end. I don't think it's going to be, I can't say if it's going to be for your highest good or not, but I don't think that it's going to be the most fulfilling for you. I don't think that it's going to, I think it's going to, you have two different paths of being fulfilled in totally different ways. And this way this way is frustrating because you're bumping up against a karmic lesson or some kind of lifetime lesson that you are being asked to learn if you want to go on this path. And this way is difficult because you don't like being alone. It's not fun to not have an audience. It's not fun to perform when you don't have an audience. And maybe that's not true for you. Maybe you have no issues with not having an audience. I feel like that's kind of the Leo's thing, and one of the reasons, or the Leo placements, like what we had earlier. I don't know if you have Leo in your chart, but just that energy really permeates here, where it's like, and I'm looking at the skeleton here, and it's like, I am king, but at what cost? I'm being crowned, but they almost look sad. Was it really worth it? Am I really a king if I don't have subjects, if I don't have a kingdom, Maybe this is something that, it would be better to have people in. And I think the main, the reason why you teeter-totter between these of trying to figure out, the two main paths that you can go, I think there's simultaneously a fear of not getting what you want, or of things not coming through the way that you envision them, but also a fear of being tied down to things. It's you're so afraid of being tied to another person, or to tied to other people's vision of things, and trapped by that you're ending up not recognizing that your vision itself traps you. That having to have everything in alignment with your vision is its own form of trap. That means that you are not as free or as powerful as you really think that you are, or would feel that you are. And so it's almost in a way, even if you do pursue this power, there's a sort of emptiness to it. It is not it's swords, so it's mentally fulfilling, but I feel there's this chance, if you're able to turn this situation around, if you're able to figure out how to deal with the frustration of everything, if you're able to figure out how to maybe not enjoy the compromise, but to at least no longer hate it, that you can turn the situation around, and it'll be fulfilling in the way that Wan's energy is. Wan's energy is energy of the gut rather than the head. So it's the feeling of a full belly. It's that satisfaction. Versus this is the satisfaction of solving a problem, which is fine. Neither of them last for forever. But at the same time, there's kind of it's which direction do you want to be more fulfilled in? And your guides want me to really emphasize, there is not a wrong answer here. This is not a, you have to, this is not a do or die kind of lesson. You have some flexibility here. There's still other lessons that you can learn if you go this way. It's just not the main one. It's more you'll be learning a lot of side quest stuff, and that's fine. It's just what you are going to be comfortable with and what you're going to be. I'm hearing from Iron Giant where Hogarth is explaining to the giant that you don't have to be a gun. You are what you choose to be. You choose. And it finally like gets the giant to like stand down. And so maybe there's a certain freedom that you're going to find that comes with recognizing that it's completely entirely your choice to pursue whatever it is that you want, whatever feels most authentic to you. And maybe that's what you really wanted the power for all along, is to feel like you're able to make the choice that you need to. I think that's all the messages that I have for this part. So we're going to move on to the last bit, which is just getting some messages, some polishing off messages from your guides. So anything else that you would like pile number 4 to know, please? Anything else you'd like pile number 4 to know? All right. We have the presence of love will always cast out fear. I feel like that one's pretty self-explanatory. I think it's interesting that this is like mirroring, like the circle right here is mirroring like a moon. We kind of have that like in the back here. The moon's oftentimes like a symbol of fear, or of like the unknown. And so, you know, if you're worried about embracing the unknown, gosh, and now I'm hearing the song from Frozen 2, Into the Unknown. But anyways, if you are afraid of the unknown or like not sure what to do, like love will lead the way for that. So like, and I think that's not just love for other people. I think it's also like loving yourself enough to follow your passions, and like loving life and like loving living, not being afraid of, not making a decision because you're afraid of failure. In every moment, the universe is conspiring to bring me towards right-minded thinking and the energy of love. Yeah, this is very much a you can't screw this up energy. That there is not a wrong choice here. That no matter what, like, it is going to be bringing you towards, like, the fact that you're even here at this crossroads where you're trying to decide or make a decision, like, you can always go back and change your mind, you know, like, it's not, this isn't the final crossroads for this, you know. Hope is the conduit for miracles is your last card. And again, I think that one's pretty self-explanatory, but I think it's also saying like, hey, maybe you don't have to sacrifice. Like, you keep worrying about having to sacrifice your relationships to get what it is that you really want. And maybe that causes you to preemptively reject people or to preemptively like remove people from your life in anticipation of them causing a problem for you or of them like pushing back against what you really want. And I think that here it's kind of saying like, hey, maybe instead of rejecting people or like assuming that people are going to stop you from doing what it is that you really want, or that people are going to take away your choice or going to stand in your way, let's maybe have some hope for people who think that your ideas are good. What if the people around you who care about you really do want you to have your way? What if it's not just a struggle? What if it's not just something that you have to force through, you know? And what if, even if they don't want you to have your way, what if they don't abandon you? What if they don't leave? They can still support you even if they don't agree. at least with most things. So that's all the messages that I have for you. Thank you so much for joining in, and hopefully I will see you in another pile. Otherwise, until then, I hope that you have an excellent rest of your day, and just sending good vibes for your journey. Take care.